The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
On to another edition of Insights. I'm Bethany Ricciardi. Now, with the growing emphasis on the need for a college degree or more experience in training in the workforce, high school students may have a lot more on their mind than just getting the high school diploma. So college tuition can cost, just as much as a house, maybe even more. So today we're going to focus on what students, the community, parents, everybody in the area is doing to help make college more affordable. And today I'm joined here with Katie Wolf, the Director of Marketing Communications for the Community Foundation for Northeast Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie.
Well, I'm excited to share this information.
Awesome. So the Community Foundation for Northeast Michigan is one of the biggest scholarship organizations in the area. Do you want to talk a little bit about that program?
We serve a 9-county area, which makes us pretty unique. We probably have the largest geographic area of any community foundation in the state, and maybe coming close nationally. But our program, there are several great scholarship programs in the region that we serve. Ours is the largest in that we serve the largest area and award the most scholarships. Of course, the reason we can do that is because of the generosity of the people in our area, because each scholarship that we give, there is a donor behind that really wanted the students to succeed. To give you a sense of scale for the program, this year, right now, and we're not complete with our scholarship cycle. We're in the middle of that scholarship cycle.
Okay.
So we're at 199 awards right now, and that's about $237,000. By the time we're done for 2016, we'll be well over $400,000.
That's amazing. So how can students apply for these scholarships? What's the process they should be looking into?
Well, right around January of, in this case for next year, for students who will be graduating in January, they should start checking the Community Foundation website, because we will make that online scholarship process active. And the key to that is once it opens up, everything is online. And in the past couple years, we have our program directors worked very hard in making it really easy for students. So they used to have to fill out applications for each scholarship fund. Now they can complete one electronic scholarship form, and it could apply to over close to 70 different scholarships just for the greater Alpena area. Now collectively it's more like 170 scholarships. But they complete that application, and they need to take their time and do that very carefully. But once they submit it, there's an algorithm that we've created that goes and checks, because every scholarship has different criteria. So, and then it pulls up what each student qualifies for. And then we have a committee who reviews those after the computer has, helped us determine what they're applicable for. And one of the things that's really important to know is that I think a lot of students think, oh, I couldn't get a scholarship because I'm not in the top 10% of my class, or I'm not in the top 20%. And that's not the case at all. There are opportunities there for pretty much all students.
So it must be a big accomplishment when you actually get these students to enroll and see all the applicants and things like that. But what are some of the creative ways that the Alpena area is helping students receive a college degree?
Well, you're going to learn about a scholarship in a little bit that I think is one of those. The neat thing about scholarships when, we kind of have that community emphasis is that if we can have students go to our community college, the programs at the community college are often geared to serving those employers and jobs in the area. So it means that students could go to the community college for their first couple of years, get their associate's degree, and pretty much be carefully aligned with the employers that are in this area. So that's really exciting to us, because it's an opportunity to have our talent also stay here. But there's a lot of things that are changing in the scholarship arena. One is, you might have heard of early college, where students go an additional year through their high school, so that 5th year is paid for through their high school program. but then they're actually taking college classes and they graduate with an associate's degree. So that's very exciting. But for a scholarship, you know, when your scholarship programs are all geared toward seniors graduating from high school and then going on to college, it's a kind of a paradigm shift, but we're excited about that because anything that helps make it more affordable for students. Some people are doing some pretty interesting thinking, and now this is in the Iosca County area. They're looking at offering a scholarship that is kind of retroactive. So you go to college and you get your degree and then you've got your loans. The employers would offer the scholarship so they would help reduce the loans if the students, you know, come to work there. So that's kind of a neat idea too.
So of course the students are super important, the scholarships are really important, but like you said, behind every scholarship there's a donor. So why do donors come to the Community Foundation to set up scholarships? What's kind of the process for them?
It's probably one of the most rewarding experiences we have at the Community Foundation where you know, individuals have been good to people in their lives. They've worked really hard, and oftentimes people that you have no idea that they have the resources, but they've saved and they've lived their life very carefully, and they want to help somebody else succeed. And so they will come in, and there's all different kind of reasons. Sometimes it's in memory of someone, you know, in their family. But more than anything, their hearts are big, and they want to see the young people in our area be able to succeed, and they know how important it is for them to have an education.
Now for the viewers, if they were interested in maybe becoming a donor or anything like that, what's some of the information they should know about the Community Foundation?
Well, we have a website. It's cfnem.org. And there's a lot of information on there about scholarships. They just have to go to the scholarship area. But we welcome people to come into our office anytime. We're located right in Alpena on Ripley Street. And then our phone number is 989-354-6881. And so, you know, any of those ways that work well for them, we would be glad to sit down and explain everything to them. Because, you know, it's personal for every single person. Every scholarship is unique.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, Katie. We're going to have to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back with more. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm here with Chuck Wiesen, the Wiesen Family Scholarship donor. How are you doing today, Chuck?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, and thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So, pretty general question. Why did your family come up with the idea to create a scholarship fund?
My wife and I have been very fortunate. We've had two great careers. We live in a beautiful community. Over a lot of years, we've been donors to a number of different nonprofits. We decided a few years ago we'd like to extend a little bit. And what I mean by that is we think a scholarship program is an exceptional way for a family to reach out and touch, in many cases, people that we've never met. I'd never met this scholar until about 5 minutes ago. There's a screening process that you have to go through. And from that, this year we have 4 excellent scholars that we will be providing a Wiesen Family Scholarship to.
That's very awesome. So how does this scholarship fund reflect your family's goals, beliefs, different things like that?
I guess the simple way to answer that question is to say we believe it's important that if you have the opportunity, give back. Give back by being a volunteer. Give back by supporting a nonprofit. In our cases, we do a number of different kinds of things, but the scholarship program is important, we think, because ultimately what happens, at least we hope, is that many of the young people go away, go to school, earn degrees, and in some cases come back and establish themselves in our community again, establish a career, create a family, and move on.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Can you tell me some of the history behind this scholarship fund? When did you start it and things like that?
Sure. We got thinking about it about 15 years ago. And the way a scholarship fund works is you have to build up so many dollars before you can draw interest on that to create a scholarship. So it took us a while to build up the fund. Once we got the fund built up, then we were able to provide 1 scholarship, 2, 3, and now we're able to provide 4.
So it sounds like there must be a lot of hard work that goes into that. What's been the most rewarding part of this fund?
The most rewarding part of creating a scholarship for a student is to, in a very small way, help them to be able to meet their goals. I mean, we knew what our family goals were, and in a lot of cases, we really don't know until we read the application for each student. What we do know is that by reaching out in this way, we hopefully are able to help young people meet their goals, and then hopefully, in some cases, they'll actually come back to Alpena to help the community get stronger.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned you aren't always able to meet the students who are accepting the scholarship, but you're going to get to, you just met the young lady who will be on our next segment. And what does that mean for you? Is it important to actually, see the faces and, see the children that are actually taking on your scholarship fund?
Yeah, it is. You could do it online. You could be, you could be out in La space. Mm-hmm. But for us, one of the interesting things that the Community Foundation does has a scholarship luncheon every year, which gives a chance for the donors to actually meet the young people. I think that's important. They need to know that it's not just a bunch of old folks out hatching money and then giving it away. That in fact, all the donors, and as Katie pointed out, there are about 70 different funds. All the donors, whether it's an organization, whether it's an individual, whether it's a family, we all care. We've been down the road where we had to struggle to make ends meet. We've been down the road where we had to say, can I do this in 8 semesters, or do I need to take a 9th because I don't have the money? In some small ways, I think every single donor believes the number one objective we have is to help a student. I think we all do that.
Now, this is a family fund, and I've been able to hear that your wife plays a big part in it.
Big time. She actually is the program manager for the Community Foundation. One of her responsibilities then is to monitor the entire scholarship program. So yes, we're a family, but yes, we are a family that's very committed to the process that is the Community Foundation and the scholarship program.
Is there any advice that you might have for a potential future donor if they're looking to set up a fund of their own?
Sure. Work through your own family financial situation. Understand where you are. Understand, what your goals are. If you think you might have the opportunity to create a fund, contact the Community Foundation, go in and sit down, and just talk. Talk about what your interest is, talk about what might be most important for you moving forward. The Community Foundation is more than willing to help, and I think you'll find the process of setting up a fund is relatively easy. It takes some work to generate the money, but I think you'll find that the process for setting up the fund is relatively easy.
So you've been able to see your foundation grow. Is there any, future goals, or do you overall just hope that it keeps getting bigger and you're able to give out more and more scholarships?
Exactly.
Okay.
This year we're able to give out 4. We really don't have a cap. We put funds into our fund every single year, and our hope is that it won't be too long before we're able to give 5. And the reason for that is because there's always a list, and there's always a point where we have to have a cutoff, and we'd like not to be able to do that.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be great.
Yeah.
Now, what about the students? When students are applying for your scholarship, or just any scholarship in general, what's some advice that you'd give to them? I know we mentioned when we were speaking with Katie that a lot of students feel like if they're not top in their class or something like that, that maybe they're not qualified to deserve this. So what's some advice for students?
Well, lots of advice. Explore often, explore early. And what I mean by that is, if you're a high school student, by the time you end your junior year, you ought to begin to explore things like guaranteed student loans, the Pell Grant, the federal Pell Grant program. And if you know what community college, or university you're going to, contact the financial aid office. Here at Alpena, Bob Roos runs the financial aid office at Alpena Community College, and he is beyond excellent. Go in, sit down, and start to ask questions. Chase every single dollar you can possibly find, and if you start early, you'll be amazed at how many different opportunities that you have out there. We heard the other day of one young lady down in Alcona County who applied for 70 scholarships.
Wow, that is a lot. So
Yeah.
definitely don't limit yourself.
No, don't limit yourself. And then once you begin in school, continue to look. Every year you should contact the financial aid office. Are there any new programs out there? Contact the community foundation, contact other funding organizations, because once you get a scholarship one year, it doesn't mean you can't earn it the next year.
So you mentioned you're giving out about 4 scholarships. Are these all the same 4 scholarships, just different recipients, or are different scholarships require different qualifications?
No, we have, in our case, we have 4 $500 scholarships.
Okay.
Some other donors do different kinds of things. But from our point of view, we decided that what we were going to do is set some criteria within the parameters that are out there by the scholarship program for the Community Foundation. And then just go with it. And whoever our top 4 were, those were going to be the top 4. Interestingly enough, this year, as has always been the case, you have to be a student at Alpena Community College.
Okay.
One of our 4 recipients decided to go on to Saginaw Valley State University, so now we were able to move down to number 5, which makes us feel good about that.
That's really awesome. I'm so glad to hear that there's been great accomplishments with your fund.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much again for joining us here.
It's a
And we're
pleasure.
going to take a quick commercial break, but when we get back, Haley Nickel will be joining us, and she is a recipient of this family fund. Welcome back, everyone. I'm still here with Chuck Wiesen, a family scholarship donor, but we're now also joined with one of his recipients, Haley Nickel. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
And I think congratulations are in order. You are the 2016 recipient, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. And I'm so excited to be able to be here when you two first meet. It's very cool.
Yeah, the only way I knew Haley and the other students, there's a rather lengthy application process. We take into account academic record. We take into account public and community service. In Haley's case, we also have to take into account that she's been working for the last 2 years.
Wow.
You look at all of those different kinds of things, and what comes out is a trend. And in this case, we think we got an excellent applicant here and 3 other good ones too.
I'm so glad to hear that. And it must be great to put a face, to the names and the papers that you're seeing. So what are you specifically planning on doing with the scholarship? I heard today's your last day of high school, so congratulations to that as well. But what are your plans? How do you plan on using the scholarship?
I'm going to stay at ACC for 2 years and finish out my prerequisites, and then I'm going to transfer to Ferris State University and do my associate's degree in ultrasound technology.
What was it, ultrasound technology?
Yep.
Awesome. So what does that kind of consist of? How did you fall into a scientific degree like that?
I took healthcare occupations at the high school, and we actually just did presentations on certain jobs, and that's what I picked, and I fell in love with it.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned she is an ideal candidate. So what are some of the things that you're looking for when you're sorting through those papers?
First off, the paperwork is kind of monumental. Well, in this case, the electronic paperwork is kind of monumental. In our case, we look for someone who has an academic record between 2.5 and 3.5. People always say, why don't you look for somebody who's 4 point? And our attitude is everybody looks for somebody who's 4 point. And there are lots of really quality people who just don't have that high a grade average, but who have really strong potential in other areas. Then we look for somebody who's done community service, in this case, a youth group. Then we look for someone who's done other kinds of things in this community. In this case, 2 years as an employee at a fast food restaurant. You match all of those kinds of traits, and then she has a number of other questions that, in this case, she had to answer. What happens then is the computer goes through and generates a score. And then once we have everybody ranked, then the entire group of scores goes to a committee. The committee then sorts down through to be sure, from the point of view of the donors, that what we have are the very best applicants based upon our criteria.
Awesome. So how did you learn about this scholarship? I know getting to the end of graduation in high school, that can be stressful in itself. So how did you take time out to find this scholarship?
We have a career resource center at the high school in the library, and I just looked for scholarships that apply to me, and Community Foundation was the main thing. They also have it online, and I learned about it through my mom that way too, so I came to conclusion with both of it.
Awesome. So was it an easy process? Did you have to spend, hours tackling away at certain things?
Not hours, but I did spend quality time on it, getting true answers. And
awesome. That's definitely good. I mean, I can only imagine how much time it might take away, from social activities and things
Yeah.
like that. But, college is expensive and it's definitely an important key. So when did you start applying for scholarships? I'm assuming this might not be the only one that you
No.
applied for.
I started at the beginning of the year. Choosing a college, you realize how expensive it is. And, shoot, hang on.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's definitely fine. I mean, it definitely brings a lot, Would you have any advice on when to start looking?
Earlier the better.
Earlier the better.
I firmly believe if you know from high school you're going on to college, start when you're a junior.
Okay.
Contact the financial aid office at the college, university, community college that you think you might be going to. Get to know them. Understand that there are a myriad of different kinds of funding opportunities. I think it's an embarrassment in our country that many of those funding opportunities go unused. But there are loan programs, there are federal programs. The big one is called Pell, P-E-L-L. But then in this state, there are 52 community foundations. Every single one of them has a scholarship program. And there are all other kinds of scholarships that are available. There's scholarships available through churches. Scholarships are available through professional organizations. Scholarships are available through civic organizations. And my attitude to anyone who asks is be aggressive and work hard at it.
Awesome. So what does it mean to you to be able to be a recipient of this scholarship?
Financially stable is the main thing, but it's also a start to my career, my life, and it just helps out a lot.
Absolutely. And you were involved in a youth group. Was that your community service?
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your experience with that.
We do a lot of volunteering. I know we do Christmas caroling,
Cool.
and we're soon going on a mission trip to New Orleans. We're going to help rebuild houses and get to talk to the locals and stuff like that.
Now, do you plan on staying just as involved when you get into college?
Yeah, I love it a lot.
That's awesome. So I guess between the both of you, what is some advice for students who are looking to apply for scholarships? I know there's stressors, there's, time frames, things like that. What's some of the advice? Maybe they think they might not even be qualified for some of these scholarships. What do you have to say to them?
No one can really afford college, but there's enough scholarships out there to help you afford it. And once you get through college, you're going to have a good enough career that you can pay back anything you borrowed. So you might as well just go full force and do what you need to do.
Definitely. How about for you?
I think that's well said. As I said, I'm firmly of the opinion, if you don't believe there's money out there, you haven't looked. There's a significant amount of it. I would be less than honest if I didn't say you need to have a grade average. But as long as you understand that sometimes the search is pretty rigorous, but in all too many cases, as I said before, the money goes unused. So start early in your search process. Work with the professionals that are available. Community college, Bob Roos, they don't come any better. And he will be more than happy to help anyone sit down, student, family, anyone, sit down and talk through the process. Going to the community foundation, the program manager there, she will be more than happy to sit down, walk through every single scholarship that you might be eligible for, and then walk you through the process of the application. And then lastly, and sometimes people forget this, the fact that you're a scholarship eligible person 1 year, and then they forget about next year, and the next year, and the next year. Apply, 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 apply.
You hear that, Haley?
And aggressively apply because there's funding available.
So I guess my final question would just be going back to the grade average. What do you say to the students who have dreams to go to college but maybe don't think that they're qualified? Are there scholarships out there for the lower grade averages?
Sure. Many of the scholarship programs are based upon the highest grade average, which is fine. That's what the donor wants. Many other donors have a range. Our range happens to be 2.5 to 3.5. My response to anyone who asks me, or any parent who asks me and says, gee, I don't know if we have a good enough grade average, I'll go find out.
Yeah.
And if, oh, by the way, if you don't have a good enough grade average, maybe just go to school half-time. Take a couple of classes, get your grade average up a little bit, and then apply again. I mean, it's not a one and done. It's a one and to the next year, and to the next year, and to the next year. Many students actually find that, and Haley, I think, is probably a good example. She has learned how to manage time. Let me guess, you have a social life, you have your community service, you have a job that you have to be about, you have a family, and oh, by the way, you have high school.
Yep.
So you've learned how to manage time. Guess what? Those are skills that will be absolutely beneficial.
Definitely.
One other thing I would say, if a student comes to me and says, well, you know, she's going to be an ultrasound, I want to be a welder. Fine. The community foundation, the college, they will have scholarships for all kinds of skill interests. So the fact that you're not a 4-point, that's nice. But as long as you're interested in going to school and you have some sort of a career objective, work with the financial aid office at a college, work with the community foundation. Lots of good people there would be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say congratulations one more time to you, and good luck in all your future endeavors. Thank you both so much for being here with us, and thank you everyone at home for joining us, and be sure to tune in next week for another edition of Insights.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.
The furniture and set design for this episode of Insights is provided by Young Appliance Art Van Furniture on US 23 South, Alpena.